Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you again for joining us here at the beautiful 304 Collective Studios. I'm Jonathan Board. I'm the chair of the Marion County Chamber of Commerce, and this is our final evening for our series in City Council candidate forums. We want to encourage and remind everyone that Fairmont, like many of the cities around us, is organized in districts, but unlike some of those cities, each resident from the entire city will vote for one individual from each district. So it's really important that we become informed voters. I think it's most important in this time that we find ourselves now. Also, a special note on the 22nd of October, which is a Thursday, the Times West Virginian is going to put out a voter's guide in the Marion Times Shopper. We encourage everyone to pick that up to again increase your knowledge on the upcoming election. Tonight we're here with Dora Grubb, who is a candidate for District 6. Before we get started though, if any of you have any questions, we encourage you to reach out and let us know not only that you're there, but what question you might have. And so with that, Dora Grubb, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Why don't you tell Fairmont a little bit about yourself?
Well, I could probably talk the rest of the day, but I won't do that to you. Everybody likes to talk about themselves. But both sides of my family have been here since the 1700s. Wow. And fought in the Revolutionary War and on down through the ages. And so Fairmont means a lot to me because we settled here before it was even a country. Mm. And basically, I lived here, was brought up here during the Camelot age. And there's just so many things as I went over my things that I have done that I really didn't realize that I had done in my life. And so I went to Butcher School, which is no longer there, and then I went to Fairmont Senior High School, and then I went to what was Fairmont State College, and graduated with a degree in psych. And as soon as I got my degree, I immediately took the first job that came to me, and that was with the Department of Health and Human Resources in Summersville, which was, in about 3 years, I transferred to Charleston, which was really an experience for me. Just to backtrack just a minute, one of the things that I was involved with in 64 and 65 and 66 is I worked in the summers in South Carolina and North Carolina and became very involved in the civil rights movement. In fact, I lost my job because I refused, the owner told me to refuse to wait upon one of the personnel that came in, and I wouldn't do it, and I went ahead and waited on him, and so I was fired as soon as I left that night and told to turn in everything. Wow. So I was in a couple set-ins in North Carolina also. Okay. So I've had some interesting experiences of the time that it was protests were pretty tame as to what we have now, but you know, I do feel people have a right to a peaceful protest, and I don't think people realized how involved I was in that area. Sure. After I went to Charleston, I worked in children's services, primarily in adoption for special needs children and for to locate families. Mm-hmm. And while I did this for 30 years, I won several recognitions. One thing I was awarded Outstanding Young Woman of the Year by nationally. Wonderful. And also I learned to work with the legislature, mm-hmm. and I learned to work with the lawyers. And I am very familiar because I had to help write grants, and when I talk about grants, I'm talking about $1 million grants. Mm-hmm. And when I was a supervisor, I had to supervise agencies that were receiving these multi-million-dollar mm-hmm. grants. And you know, that's experience a lot of people don't have, is grant writing and the supervision of grants and how they actually work. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I did is I was one of 5 people chosen to write the policy for all of Children's Services by the Department of Human Services. When I worked there, I was also asked to work, one of the 5 people asked to work statewide for putting in the computer system when it went in to help them program, design the program. So I'm familiar with that aspect of it too.
That's wonderful.
And like I said, I've had an awful lot of experience. I've attended many things, and one of the things that I did was that I took national training for training.
Okay.
And I was certified as trainer, and some of the things I did was sexual harassment, special needs children, parenting. So I have a broad experience. And
Very
I
broad.
just think I have when I retired, I moved to Fairmont to take care of my parents, which I took care of my parents for 14 years.
Wow.
And in that time, I took over the Marion County Historical Society and was president and was the director of the museum. And I also was a member of, I think, every organization here, because I believed in quota, which was for the hearing impaired, the Women's Club, the Professional Women's Club. I mean, I could go on and on, but I belong kind of to everything.
That's wonderful.
On that, and that's one of the reasons that I want people to know that I really do have a good knowledge of that.
That's wonderful. Very diverse. I'm sure you've got a lot of stories
Yes,
to tell.
Yes.
Well, so tell us a story about your district. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, one of the things about my district, I think I have a very interesting district, and unfortunately, we were working last year. This is the Fairmont 200th birthday for Fairmont, and we were really working on programs for Fairmont and working with other agencies. And one of the things, and this is pertaining to my district, that we were working on and had wanted to do is to, I don't know if you've ever been over to 5th Street, but if you look back behind, there is a garden that was supposed to be the community garden.
Right.
And we were talking about seeing if we could get that reopened and be part of the community process. And also Brad Merrifield and Nancy Bickerstaff and I were looking at having an arboretum, a walking arboretum. If you've never been there before, and it goes down over the hill to where the garden is. And if you keep walking along there, there's a little bridge and a waterfall and everything, and it would come up over the hill to lead down into Cold Run Hollow, down by the what we call the DAC. And so that would be a walking tour, and it was to be planted with trees and flowers and everything that for West Virginia. But of course, that all fell apart with everything that happened from February on. The things that we really wanted to do, and I would really like to see some of them still done, and that's one of the programs I would like to see done. I've worked with Central United Methodist Church, which I am a member, but I also am on the church council and the Marion County Council of Churches. Right. So I'm on both of those too. Great. And we worked on having a food pantry, having what I want to do, and last year I had proposed that we have the memorial set for, my mind just went blank.
That's okay.
No, it's not. Rose Cousin, who was the first African-American woman pilot and was an honorary member of the Tuskegee Airmen. And so we got a little sign, but one of the things I want to work with Mrs. Busey and several others is I want to get a historical white sign there that tells what she did and have a memorial service, but it depends on what they would like to do. Sure. But I would like to see that, maybe have a little chair, park bench there and everything.
Be wonderful.
And do that. The college, of course, is close to me. I would really don't know what to do. I'm afraid we're going to lose the college as it keeps going down. I think we really need to try to work on preserving that and the programs that they are able to financially. Let's see. I've been trying to get places cleaned up in my district. You know, several places we went, there was a lot of bit of trash and people just throwing their garbage anywhere. And so working on getting some of these people to say, hey, look, this has to be corrected. And there's several spaces that have been done. Yeah. And I think they have done a wonderful job with Parks and Recreation with Fifth Street Park, and that's in my district also.
Very good. Very good. Well, so you've sort of been there and done that, but we'll ask again, why did you run for council and why are you doing it now?
Well, I'm not quite sure, but what I've always felt, when there's problems and all you do is sit back and complain, then you become part of the problem. And so I feel that I want to help Fairmont revitalize. I would like to see a positive change for Fairmont. And it's hard, and I know we're all working on that.
Sure.
I mean, every organization, but it can only be done by working together as a team.
That's great. That's great. What do you see currently as some of the challenges for Fairmont, and how do you hope to deal with these challenges if you're reelected?
Well, one of the challenges, of course, and part of the problems we had, the tourism basically has been kind of set back in the background, and we still, need to work on that. I'm on the board of the CVB, and they're trying some things, and they will be doing. I know that one of the things that, of course, will have nothing to do with it, but I'm certainly supporting it, is Prickett's Fort is going to have next year. They are going to have a kayak rack that you can go rent. And for an hour or a day or whatever, and they're also going to have a bicycle rack that you can rent that. And so I'm really supporting the trails. I think people come here and they say, this is such a beautiful city. And I would like to keep it growing and not slide back again. That's just real important to me. And also, I am worried about the education of the children at the present time. And one of the areas that I am kind of concerned about is I'm concerned about the homeless and what we are doing to make sure the children of the homeless are being educated and having a place to learn and just not being walking the streets.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good stuff. Well, this dovetails perfectly into our next question. Are there any new initiatives or things that are not currently happening in Fairmont that you hope to bring to the table as a council person?
Well, I think we've got so many things that have already been thought of that we really need to get those moving. I want to see downtown Fairmont with the cleanup and the things that Main Street are proposing to happen. I want to see those happen. I want to be able to contribute to that. I want to work in any area I can, but of course, I'm probably better qualified to work on like the history and parts like that. Well as working with where we can get the resources to do it.
Sure. Well, one of the initiatives that is relatively new is the Human Rights Commission. What are your thoughts on that? How do you see that integrating with the town moving forward?
Well, I was one of the people that did help with the initial passage of the Human Rights Commission. And I think we were in such a hurry to get it started. There were several things that we didn't look at as a new committee. And one of the things, and they're working on it now, Brad, but one of the things that I had talked to Brad about is anytime you have an organization, you normally have it, well, just like the city council, you have 4 people, 4 people that will up for vote and 5 people that are there. And so it's alternate. And how we did it, all 7 are actually up for at the same time. So that's
sure.
one thing that Brad has been working out, so that there's a continuity of it. That's one thing. There's several other things that, of course, I think internally that we need to look at about it. But I think it can be a positive thing.
Very good. Well, we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything else that you'd like to revisit or mention that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
I could keep you here till tomorrow if that were the case. But, I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have of me. One of the things that I did, and you can buy it at Arts and Antiques, when I thought we were going to have the 200th anniversary of Fairmont, I had an artist to design a postcard, and I have copyrights to it, and I paid for it personally.
Great.
And so, like I said, it never came about, but you can buy those if you're still interested. And
wonderful.
They are large cards, and it's clips of downtown Fairmont. And I think they'll be on sale tomorrow at the Arts and Antiques
Wonderful.
project. I'm going to remember to get up early enough to take them, donate some for them to sell as a fundraiser.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, we've had at least one question come in, and it is in reference to grant writing. Have you written any grants for the city while on council?
No, because they have a person that is hired for that. I did write grants for when I was working. Well, I wasn't working because all I did for the Historical Society and the museum was all free. I was not paid for that. People would say strictly volunteer.
Yeah.
And anyway, but I did write grants for different things. I got a $15,000 grant for the Civil War markers at the cemetery. I got a $10,000 grant for preservation that bought a computer and a scanner that is a professional scanner. It was like, the scanner even then was like $5,000.
Sure.
And so I did write grants for them, and
Wonderful.
so I have kept into that
That's good.
a little bit.
That's great. All right. Well, I think we covered all of our questions, and we've got our questions from the folks watching. So on behalf of our friends here at the 304 Collective, Tina Shaw, Marion County Chamber of Commerce, and all our friends and neighbors, thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.